How's it going, Crusaders? Welcome back to another Bible study. This is a Bible study. This is just something that we need to dive into before we continue on to chapter 2. I will be doing these throughout each chapter, probably. Just going over the person that we're going to be talking about so you have a little bit of a backstory and a better understanding of who we're talking about. So this will be the first one, and this is going over Adam. I know we all pretty much know who Adam is, Adam and Eve. First story in the Bible, technically. Something that we learned as kids and have heard a great deal about. But as I said, I really want to look into deeply who Adam was. This will be a shorter video. I've only got 2 pages of notes right here, but we do need to look at this before we continue on into chapter 2. So, starting off with Genesis 1:26 through 27 through chapter 2, verse 7. In the bottom, Adam is the first man created by God. He is the father of the human race and lived in the Garden of Eden with Eve. They are responsible for the very first sin, which led to their expulsion from the garden and the introduction of sin and death into the world. That is pretty much, that in the apple, that's pretty much all you know from face value of the Adam and Eve story, unless you've kind of dived into it a little bit deeper than that. We all know Adam and Eve in the garden. Eve kind of tempted him into eating the apple, which God told them not to, and Satan deceived them. They ate the apple, and then they realized that they were naked, and from face value, that's pretty much all we know. Adam is placed in the Garden of Eden, where he is tasked with caring for it and naming the animals, and that'll be in chapter 2, verses 18 through 20 that we will go over shortly. God created Eve from Adam's rib and brought her to him. That is Genesis 2, verses 21 through 25. Adam and Eve are forbidden to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but they disobey God and eat the fruit. That is Genesis 3:6. And I know we're going to be going over every single one of these in due time, but as I said, I really want to look at a backstory of who Adam is. It's kind of like, a movie or a video game that you like coming out. You always like to watch the trailer first. This is kind of what that is, if that is a good analogy. Might not be, not sure. Adam's disobedience leads to the introduction of sin, death, and hardship into the world, and he and Eve are banished from the Garden of Eden. That is Genesis 3:17. Adam is the ancestor of all humanity, and his sin, his consequences for all his descendants. That is Romans 5:12 through 14. And I'm just adding in a couple of verses where they talk about Adam throughout the Bible. Paul in the New Testament sees Adam as a type of Christ, with Christ being the last Adam, who brings life where Adam brought death. That is 1 Corinthians 15:22. Adam's name is derived from the Hebrew word Adaman, meaning ground or earth, reflecting his creation from the dust. Adam was created in a state of perfection and innocence before the fall. And I believe that applies to every man or woman who was ever created. We are all innocent and perfect until this world gets a hold of you, until sin puts its hand on you and the devil wraps his arm around you. And I feel like that applies to every single person. So we're looking at Luke 3:38. This connects Jesus' lineage to Adam, highlighting his role as a descendant of the first man. 1 Corinthians in chapter 15, verse 43, Adam is being spoke about when it says, "It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power." In Hosea 6:7 it says, "The Jews, like Adam, have broken the covenant and been unfaithful to God." This verse describes the Jews' betrayal of their agreement with God, mirroring Adam's disobedience in the Garden of Eden. This passage emphasizes that their actions were not merely a mistake, but a deliberate act of faithlessness. 1 Corinthians 15:48, "As is the man of dust, so are those who are of dust. And is the man of heaven, so also are those who are of heaven." This verse highlights the distinction between humanity as it currently exists, rooted in earthly origins, and the future state of believers who will be transformed to reflect the heavenly nature of Christ. 1 Timothy 2:13 states, "For Adam was formed first, then Eve." This verse sets the stage for Paul's argument about leadership in the church, where he emphasizes the role of men in teaching and authority. Adam was formed as the head of mankind, and Eve was created to be his helper, a dynamic and important role. And finally, we see Adam pass away at the age of 930 in Genesis 5:35. So, Crusaders, this is just a simplified backstory on Adam to help us understand what we're getting into. I will be doing one of these on Eve shortly. As I said, this is kind of just a little trailer before we dive into Genesis chapter 2. As I said, I know we're only one chapter in, but it is a great accomplishment that we were able to get this done. Very excited for the future of these Bible studies, and it was fun to go over Adam, and I'm excited to get to do more of those. That's all I've got for today, Crusaders. I will catch you all Friday for the sermon, and I do want to add in there, tomorrow I'm going to speak to a priest at one of the local Catholic churches about my conversion into the Catholic Church. Very excited for that. Say a prayer for me. So that's all I've got for today, Crusaders. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.